playing Elise anyway. Obviously, his Lee Sin is very good. It's just that a lot of the time we see him pick the Elise, even post-nerf Elise, over the Lee Sin.
Yeah, and we've seen him pick Elise over Lee Sin when both have been open. And LeBlanc, of course, the last man against Faker. And Thresh banned out against Mana. I'd say that's fair, given Mana's skill in that champion. And then Twitch picked up right away for Piglet once again. He's been favoring that all since All-Star.
Yeah, and it's especially important as a first pick because both Imp and Piglet are so good on that champion, and they both place an extremely high priority on it because they like to be those flashy playmakers. And that's one of the reasons why this rivalry has always been really interesting, is because Imp and Piglet are so similar in playstyle that it makes for some very fun, very kill-heavy, dynamic matches.
And an attitude, too.
Yeah, the egos are
they've had
huge.
some issues between the two of them in the past. It looks like they've put a lot of that behind, but once they go in game, the rivalry continues, and Twisted Fate locked in early for Pawn.
Yeah, Pawn again prioritizing the TF on as a first rotation pickup, seemingly unconcerned with the possibility of being pushed in early. Bengi, buddy. I don't know about this Jarvan.
You know, and we have to say what we've seen in the past, that perhaps Bengi just once again in an uncomfortable spot in the jungle. We've seen him do this before when he would keep picking these suboptimal champions, but again and again in every game, and almost kind of telling the world that he didn't have other champions prepared right now.
So we'll see what Imp picks in response to this. If he picks the Cog mod, now Imp is Imp has played a lot of Cog mod, but it's just like Deft isn't as good at Twitch. Imp is not quite as good at Cog mod, so we'll have to see. And Bengi, he'll be able to lock down the Cog in theory, just like last game, but in practice, he kind of got outplayed and outsmarted by Deft. And also, we have to give a lot of credit to Spirit as well on Lee Sin. With the Lee Sin ban, this time from SKTK, there's going to be less peel inside the Cataclysm for Kog'Maw. So that may be another reason behind the early Jarvan pick, is that they identified the Lee Sin as the point of weakness and Spirit's ability to stick close to Deft and just kick Bengi out of his own ultimate.
Yeah, PoohManDu showing that Zilean support working out for T1 K at All-Stars in Paris. See if it helps them out again. It's going to help Bengi also hit that level 6 earlier. And as you mentioned, it's not just the Lee Sin, but overall just less cover and peel from Ozone right now. I mean, Morgana can get a binding down, but you're in the vicinity. You can't really get them away from each other. Ziggs being highlighted by Piglet for his team. It's going to be locked in alongside Zilean. So looking at a top lane rise. Ziggs in the mid, and then Impact, or not Impact, but Twitch and Zilean in the bottom lane. We see Coach Choi from Samsung clapping as they just lock in Elise instantly. Seem pretty happy about how the picks worked out for them.
Well, they have that Elise Morgana combo, which if you get the cooldown reduction for the Cocoon and the Dark Binding by maxing Q and E, as Cloud9 was really one of the first teams in the world to do this, you basically can chain CC and you have those abilities to catch up forever. And that's really powerful, especially with the Twisted Fate, because the single target CC, the pick potential of this Samsung Ozone team is very big.
Yeah, and even for Twitch, you can come out of ambush, but if you get stunned or bound right away.
And this is one of those times where you wonder, like, you just look at this and you know that this came from like one of the North American teams, especially when the Cloud9 was running this at All-Stars.
Yeah.
Morgana became a much more popular pick in Korea right after that.
Yes, gotta give credit where it came from. And Mata, he's not afraid to play any champion as a support. So Ozone with perhaps picks we're a little bit more used to seeing. T1K going with that top lane rise, and Zilean support bringing it all the way over from Paris. They had big words about that Zilean in preparation at Paris. We'll see if they can pull off the same moves again. The extra experience and, of course, the speed boost on Twitch. The revive on his ultimate. Can it pull T1K to victory to keep them in the running 2-1? Or will T1 overall get swept out by the Samsung organization? We'll find out as we jump into set number 3.
지역에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
T1 once again on the blue side, so K gets their share of blue side play, while Ozone playing from red side again in set number 3.
So this composition from SK Telecom K, they need to scale, and of course they're hoping that Faker is able to stall it out long enough because the late game carry potential of a Rise, Twitch,
미니언
and
생성까지
Zig's team
30초 남았습니다.
with the Zillion revive is pretty stupid. Now Looper needs to not end up in the Rise lane because Rise will have a much easier time, or if he does, Dandy needs to make some plays. But Samsung, they may be able to prey on the relative immobility of SK Telecom, but it's about making those picks. And that means they have to get vision control over SKT. And fortunately for Samsung Ozone, that is, in fact, a specialty of Mata.
미니언들이
But
생성되었습니다.
a lot of it depends for Ozone on how well they can snowball the lanes with the TF, Elise, and Morgana CC. And then how well they can control the mid game, because come 30 minutes, they're not going to be able to 5v5 unless they have a substantial advantage.
And we did see Imp and Mata with the lane swap showing themselves in the top ward though, so Bengi and Impact back off right away. MonDu and Piglet responding with an invade, but Pawn shows up with a gold card. He's gonna catch MonDu. MonDu flashes out just in time to prevent extra damage, and Pawn takes just every hit possible. And the bouncing bomb, Piglet looking for a kill, he flashes forward, but Pawn with the insta-flash will get away. The job done, it goes to T1K, though they deny the blue buff, and in fact, Bengi arrives just in time to secure that one, and this could be a 3-buff start for Bengi.
Yeah, Samsung Ozone really misplayed this level 1. They didn't get good wards down, and they decided to start jungling on the opposite side of their dual lane, which carries the inherent risk that you're going to get invaded in a 4v3. So that's exactly what happened, even though they did manage to blow MonDu's flash early. By the time, more than likely, that he needs that flash again, it will be up due to the lane swap and buying him those 5 minutes. So a bit of sloppy play, I think, from Ozone. Generally speaking, don't want a lane swap like that. You want to stay on the safe side with your duo just to minimize risk.
Yeah, and Looper, just really not much to do right now. Impact and Bengi will clear the early pink ward. Pawn also flashed down and getting to lane late. He's going to have a rough time against Faker. Already going to be zoned by Ziggs anyway.
This is also really dangerous for Looper to be on that side of the jungle right now, because there's a possibility that the top lane and jungler are going to be there very soon. I can't believe he's doing white right now. This is really, really risky because you can also be invaded, or he's going to go into lane. Also super risky.
I mean,
at level 1.
Doesn't have choices right now.
Okay, I think he can do this because of the Zillion pick, where there's not hard CC, so he actually can't be dove under the turret. So this is, I think he's only doing this because Zillion was selected here, and he knows that he's got that little bit of extra survivability, and also the fact, I think, that both flashes on Piglet and MonDu are down. But that is not a normal play you would make right there, because the kill pressure is really high on that lane.
Oh yeah. Of course, heal also down. Mata will be going back home, leaving Imp to fend for himself, and they're doing the same thing that we often see Heart of Blue do. Leave the Kog'Maw alone, but give him chances to ward deep, and when his ward runs out, we'll see either Dandy or Mata back up there to cover his vision so that he can stay in a solo lane. Meanwhile, Mata will come down to help out Looper.
And you gotta love what we're seeing from Samsung. Just after taking a minute to think about what Looper's doing, it really is the best choice given the circumstances. And just knowing exactly what the potential of an all-in under the bottom tier 1 are. And it's also just a reaction to them losing that skirmish early on, because they know what the summoner spells are, and that is,
Oh, Bengi comes in for a gank, and Pawn gets a stun onto Bengi. Cocoon onto Bengi from Dandy's gonna save him. Faker wants that kill so bad, but we see the teleport coming in from Looper. Dandy chases through with the repel. Faker just has his flash. He flashes into the brush. He's trying to act like he flashed over the wall, but Looper is going to walk right in. They didn't bite the bait. And Bengi now getting chased through with that red buff. MonDu shows up, but is that enough? MonDu actually too squishy. Gotta give a free kill with that Dark Binding coming in, and there's a Tormented Stoil onto Bengi as they do take down Dandy in return. But too many deaths on the side of T1K, and Impact also takes a lot of hits from Imp.
That's right. So in that play, Dandy coming with the counter gank, they overplayed a little bit because they ended up giving up double buffs, but in the end, I mean, we've talked about Dandy's insane counter jungling skills or counter ganking skills for so long. And there you have it again. Pawn barely surviving that one. And Dandy, the follow-up on the Faker. Looper with a very well-timed teleport as well. Comes in, helps out with these kills, gets the first blood, and that's absolutely huge. So as I was saying before that, very exciting moment happened as we watch out the rest of this clip. The great thing about Looper is, yes, they lost that blue buff in level 1, but they didn't get 3 buffed. And because the summoners were down, it allowed him to go very safely into that bottom lane. And that in turn has resulted in a 2-level advantage and a first blood advantage for Looper right now. So actually, where 99% of the time you would be very afraid to walk into that lane in a lane swap as a top laner these days, in this particular circumstance, it was great. And Looper turning on his brain, showing that adaptive play, and now he's got a lot to show for it, including just smacking around Impact in the top lane.
Yeah, look at this. He's just bullying him like none other. He's actually got chase through. He has flash. Impact does not.
This is crazy too, because Impact has a tier, and normally the tier would be very helpful in providing that extra damage for Ryze to harass out Looper. But Looper got so much money from a couple of kills that he has a 6-minute Negatron. And that means that there is really nothing this Ryze could do against the Shyvana. The Shyvana will just run at him forever.
Whoa, Dandy and Bengi running right into each other. We'll see who can come for backup first. Faker's coming in from the mid lane. Looper will reach them just in time. There is the teleport coming in from Pawn. Mega Inferno Bomb not gonna hit. Bengi gets zoned out by 3 members of Samsung. Can't join his teammates and will go down.
Yeah, Dandy just delaying long enough for Pawn to make it into range and make a play right there. Looper has pushed the wave up, and there's really not much that Impact is going to be able to do in that situation. Impact continuing to get harassed, 9 to 25 CS, so I just can't credit Looper's decision-making enough this game. It did look bad even to me at first, but after you actually think about it and break it down, it turned out to be absolutely the right move.
Yep. Looper has been one of those quiet top laners who continues to grow and surprise everyone with these just, you know, small but impactful decisions. And meanwhile, Ozone targeting Bengi, you know, kind of picking up a clue here. Well, he's playing Jarvan again. Let's pick on him, make him uncomfortable. Without Bengi, I mean, Faker, he's godlike, but there's a limit to what he can do.
Well, he also hasn't really played that many games on Ziggs. In fact, he's only ever played 1 game professionally on Ziggs. I was very surprised to see this come up in Champion Select. In fact, when Ryze was picked, I thought it was going to be a mid lane Ryze.
Yeah.
But he's playing it again here. Apparently feels comfortable enough on it. And you can never count Faker out because he has such an enormous champion pool that he can always bust something out and win with it. And he has won on his only game on Ziggs, but it's definitely not a normal sight. I agree with it that it's good in this composition, given the need to turtle until Ryze gets huge. And that's why this 1K gold difference doesn't mean the end of the world for SK Telecom, because their scaling is so crazy that they can still pull out a late game victory. But it certainly is making it harder.
Very true. And Impact.
Looper already has a cowl as well. This is just,
wow.
Impact has to get out of this lane.
Yeah, so he's just going to leave right away. Meanwhile, fight down in bottom. Piglet gets chased through. Has to use Summoner Heal to run away. Mandu gets caught by a Dark Bindings. Tons of damage coming in from Imp, but Imp also has to watch out. Ignite was on him. Doesn't want to get expunged to death. So Piglet will come back with that pot running, and Imp will take some time to stand behind his minion wave. Samsung doing what they can to save that tower really more than anything.
And this is just such a nuisance right now for Impact. The proxy farming is beginning. Dandy already has gotten control over the blue buff right as it comes up. And he'll just go ahead and take that. Of course, they've got the timer. They were the ones who cleared it out originally.
So Faker now without a blue buff, that's going to hurt a little bit as T1 K does get the bottom tier 1.
And this was such a great play too, because Shyvana is so much stronger at this point that when you swap the dual lane back into the bottom, you're in the 2v2, so you have more, it's harder for the enemy team to invade. But when you have such a tremendous advantage in the 1v1,
Destiny again onto Impact, he gets cocooned, yellow carded, and dead from the execution on Elise's Q. Looper just tanking for Dandy a little bit longer. And there's a Dark Binding Tormented Soil onto Faker to deny any sort of pinch onto the top lane.
Well, this is what happens in the top lane these days. This meta is so dependent on your decision making and on your reads on situations early in the game and your team's decisions too. And so Impact is really paying the price right now for the skirmish that his team did at level 1 to invade that blue buff and Looper's subsequent decision making after that and falling behind. And also the fact that Rise is really not a great champion in a lane swap situation, as jungling is very subpar.
Yeah, lots of rough situations for T1K as Samsung decides to group up for a 11-minute Dragon. They're going to go ahead and start it. There's not much T1K can do about that situation at the moment. And Piglet just in the bottom lane again with Mandu, but Mata will join in no time.
Well, Impact is at level 6, so at least he's slowly catching up in CS and levels, and that will be helpful. Binding getting thrown out there. Mata deciding to back off just a little bit.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Monty, how long can T1K hold out for that Rise to go into his late phase and even Twitch to start really being able to just assassinate anyone he runs into? It's gonna be pretty rough, especially with the 3-0-1 Shyvana, who lost no time by just getting MR and now can decide to maybe gear up against Twitch as soon as Piglet starts to hit his own power spike.
The real problem with the 3-0-1 Shyvana is that due to the teleport play right now, the fact that Shyvana is so far ahead means that the teleport in terms of team fighting is going to be just monumental in controlling objectives. So as long as that ability is up, even if Impact also teleports, there's going to be a world of difference. Looper just trying to freeze up here as long as possible. It will be pushing out eventually, however.
Yeah, and that's for its impact onto the white and the jungle.
And typically, in the current lane swap meta, we see both top laners falling somewhat further behind than they would normally be, so that teleport, in terms of early team fightings or dragon contests, isn't that big of a deal, or not as big of a deal as it normally would be. But when you have Looper, who is effectively, due to gold, just based on his kills, a 1v1 top laner right now, that's just going to be tremendous.
Yeah, just now we saw on our screens Bengi trying to sneak into that river brush after using the lens, but a cute ward at the very corner from Samsung. Probably spotted him jumping in with his EQ combo. And so we have Pawn playing very safe. As Impact is able to pick up this minion wave, trying to stack his tier as much as possible while he's at it.
Yeah, but Looper did a good job of driving it all the way into the turret. Now, SKTK does have good vision control over that jungle. They're trying to help Impact out as much as possible, but it is rather hard.
Yeah, and after taking that bottom tier 1, they decide, all right, we're just all going to group up. They do have some nice zoning and good attack speed thanks to that standard on Piglet.
Wow, Pawn is just dodging everything.
Yeah, but Pawn not taking any damage. Can they save the tower? For now, it will live, but Samsung's going to have to respond to this move.
Well, SKTK does have that great wave clear, especially early with Zilean. He's so strong in the early game. Pawn actually just catching Piglet with a gold card due to the pink ward of the brush.
Yep. Nice catch. That's going to keep Pawn alive more than anything. Faker just equalizing the lane as much as possible. They want to find another opportunity when Samsung isn't looking, just a split second, to take that mid-tier 1 Mandu and Mata in a little bit of a support trade. And we do have Mandu with that tier.
And I like the fact that we're seeing such an early distortion enchantment from Pawn also. He decided to rush that even before he finished his Athenes. And he just really wants all of his summoners up for every port, because that means he can really maximize the value of that gank. If he has that Ghost, his sticking ability to a target is a lot greater, and also the level 2 boots helping with that as well. Yeah. So it's an interesting play. It does give you, of course, less mana sustain, but it makes some pretty crazy stuff with your ult possible. Looks like this is just to check out where everybody is right now, not actually going to use it or follow up.
Yeah, Pawn considering maybe jumping into that jungle, but after seeing where everyone else was, decided that's not worth it. Mata just going to show up right onto Faker from behind. He gets the Dark Binding. There's a flash gold card from Pawn, and there are the tethers. Mata chasing through with his own flash right away, but Mata will go down to a Mega Inferno Bomb, and Impact comes in, locks 2 people under the tower. Pawn will pay for that gank, and a double kill for Piglet as he takes a detour to take out Dandy.
Definitely overly ambitious right there. Impact also picking up a lot. He's getting on it. He cannot do that to him right now.
Yeah. Oh, but there's the ultimate from Zillion, and Mandu just trying to keep him engaged in this fight, but not enough health recovered. Looper's coming into 3 low members. All 3 members will dodge that ultimate, but they'll have to sacrifice Mandu. Both teams getting overzealous in that fight.
Yeah, pushing up too far when Looper was still around. And that's the last thing you want to do is continue to feed the Shyvana, who already has Banshee's Veil and is a total monster on the map at the moment. I think Samsung definitely overcommitted to that dive, because if you look right now, they know where everybody is too. This is so greedy. They had just used the TF ult. They realize that everybody's like in the blue side jungle. So they use most of their crowd control on Faker as well. Faker gets an ult off before he dies, and giving Imp some very valuable golden, or Impact rather, some very valuable golden experience. Not what you want to do.
Yeah, so perhaps Samsung just wants to send a message to Faker. You know that you can die in League of Legends. It is possible. It just takes a lot.
Takes too much, I think. But mid tower does fall for Samsung, so they get an objective out of it. They still have the same gold lead that they had before, about 3K. Now, that doesn't mean the end of the game for SK Telecom. Just due to their scaling, it's okay for them to be this far behind right now. It's not okay for them to get very much further behind, however. I mean, if this goes into the 6-7K territory, it's likely going to be very problematic for SK Telecom K, but if it hovers 3 to 4, by 30 minutes, this will start turning around.
Piglet gets baited into a little bit of a fight, and Dandy shows up, so does Pawn. Pawn gets the gold card. Piglet does dodge a cocoon, but Dandy with the neurotoxin will pick up the kill. And just now we saw on our screens before, Samsung, Ohm talking to Blue, just coaching them through this game, and just in case if Ozone can't win this out, it's on Blue to finish it up before the master match, which Samsung wanted to avoid. So that was good to see. We do have the team set up with their own desks here in front of the stage. Big Inferno Bomb coming in, not going to get the steal. Dandy smites it out.
Yeah, Dark Binding over the wall as well, just to tie up Bengi for a little longer. Looper just brutally counter-jungling right now. His lead is so immense.
There's the T1 squad, S watching with their head coach. And Imp has had some free reign in this bottom. And he'll take that tier 1.
And Samsung Ozone is doing what they have to do. They're getting the crucial dives, the crucial picks in the early game to prevent the scaling. Impact is still a level down. He's still vastly behind in terms of gold. In fact, probably half of this lead is the difference between Looper and Impact right now.
Faker here in the mid lane does have a blue buff this time around. And so he's going to be able to clear very efficiently against Pawn. We'll see if that's enough to keep Pawn in the lane. Dandy enough to chase away both Mandu and Bengi. Going into a ward war on his own. Faker will win that one out, but Mata shows up to shove T1K back. Man, Dandy and Pawn have just been quick on their feet today, dodging all the skill shots from Faker.
Yep, the vision control, what we said would be key here to landing the skill shots that will set up the picks. It's coming in now, and it's coming in heavy around the blue buff. They know that Faker is desperate for blue buffs on this Ziggs. And so they're trying to take that little advantage that he can get in terms of turtling away, because you take the blue buff away repeatedly, and Ziggs can't really do a whole lot in terms of turtling beyond a certain point. You can really just wait him out very easily. And also they're just presenting that constant threat of the Baron. They're not going to be able to do it at this stage. They don't have any blades in the Ruin King. Shyvana is built full tank. So it'll be a very, very slow Baron, but...
And Mandu gets caught by a Dark Binding, but we do have a Piglet there. Not enough people close by for Samsung. Mandu not able to clear that ward out, and they give the pink ward away. Mata also has those boots of mobility, so he can really contribute to that vision war more than anything, and also sneak up with those Dark Bindings.
That's what's crucial, and Looper doing a good job of matching Impact's lane. Impact finally has said that Rod of Ages for a little bit, but his power spike has been greatly delayed. And now Looper, we'll see if he builds a Sunfire or goes into the Randuins. I would say Randuin's would probably be better just right now, just for ending the game sooner. Yeah, you'll have less split pushing pressure, but you really just want to get on top of Piglet and kill them before they can scale, and Randuin's just going to allow you to team fight that much better.
All right, Piglet trying to just find targets to assassinate, but not getting anything done so far. And that's also been key last game too. He wasn't able to get the assassinations earlier in the game. Bengi just helping Piglet pick up the red buff. He gets it. All 5 members of T1K here. They don't want to mess with Looper right now. Imp is up in the top lane now. PoohManDu does not have teleport. T1K, will they try to make something happen? Piglet is sped up, running through that mid lane, and we see the teleport coming in. Dandy actually jumps onto the teleport, gets the cocoon onto Impact and the gold card. Looper left behind, but he's so tanky he won't die just yet. T1K cannot find a target. In fact, Piglet at half health, he gets gold carded. Looper wants to dive back in, and there is a 5-man tether from Mata. He keeps them all slowed for the rest of his teammates to jump in. Imp joins the fray. A double kill for Bengi, but another kill for Imp as he flashes over and he goes to a 1v1 against Faker. A little bit ill-advised perhaps. Oh, Faker can't get the fadeaway bouncing bomb, and he's not gonna hit another one. It's skill shot to skill shot. Imp versus Faker. Imp's just gonna walk away from that one.
Wow, these games are really delivering tonight, Chopra, in terms of entertainment.
That Mata ultimate, what a sight.
Yeah, they did. I think SKTK was wise to go all in right there and really just kind of all in as an attempt to get something done. And Piglet comes in, opens up onto Dandy, but look at this counter engage too. First off, Dandy falls onto the ward where Impact, by the way, that ward was only visible because Impact was teleporting onto it. Otherwise, he couldn't have actually landed his repel there. Pawn following up, goes onto Piglet. Impact zones him out though. Mata's here, but Imp only gets the Void Ooze off. Everybody low. Piglet will go ahead and revive right here. Oh no, he doesn't actually go down before the Zillion ult. So a little bit unfortunate timing actually that the Zillion ult wore off before Piglet could revive. And now Imp and Faker, a little bit of a funny duel there.
Faker could have had the fadeaway kill, but it's not on point with that one. But you got to also give it to T1K. As soon as they heard that Morgana ult go off, they just all in on Morgana, took her out before the stun could land. Because if that stun landed, T1K
they were toast.
Yeah,
Imp definitely would have just killed them all. He was at full HP and had every opportunity. So Mata, still a really good setup right there.
Oh,
and I just love the counter engage too from Pawn, where he poured it in immediately after seeing the teleport.
Yeah. A very good back and forth between the teams. It ended evenly in terms of kill score. Faker, of course, picked up the middle tier 1. So one could argue T1K coming out a little bit ahead, but Dragon spawning in 10 seconds, and Samsung has vision all over this side of the map. Bengi trying to edge forward. He puts the standard down for some vision out of his team. 4-man squad from T1. They're going to dodge Dark Binding, but here's the Destiny. Chases them out. So that's down for the next couple minutes here. And Dragon gets started by Samsung anyway. We have all 10 members here. Bengi gets caught by the Dark Binding. Dragon's still getting damaged a lot. Piglet trying to damage them, but Piglet takes a big hit, and Pawn charging forward with the black shield and a gold card ready. Piglet takes another wild card to the face. Looper dives in onto 3 people. He's stuck onto Piglet. He walks away thanks to Zillion's ultimate on Piglet as Impact is chased down by Dandy. Good disengage and engage by Looper. Imp chasing through onto Faker. 2 members down from T1K, and the Dragon goes to Samsung.
What a great setup on Pawn too. Ghost with the gold card and the black shield onto him just to make sure that they could get his engagement right there. Looper with the follow-up engage also. And Impact, you can see how weak he is because he's getting soloed by Dandy right now.
Oh, yeah.
So watch this again. So Looper also has a great flank position at the moment. Pawn, Ghost. Black Shield just picks it up, running on by, gets it on the Bengi, not the best target, but Imp is so well protected on the side right here. Dandy also coming over the wall in order to try and engage, misses his cocoon. Good ult by Faker onto 3, but Looper is able to follow Impact, pursue him, and execute him with the Venomous Bite. Faker does pick up a nice kill onto Mata, but still advantage to Samsung.
Yeah, Looper zoning out 4 people by simply jumping on them with Dragon's Descent, and then smartly disengaging after taking Piglet down to about 200 health. So just leashing him on in that low health state, running away with Burnout.
So this is a really hard position for SK Telecom right now. They managed to get vision control over their jungle again, which is a positive, but they have to be so afraid of picks at this point that they have to kind of stay together, and that's going to reduce their ability to scale just because they, in an ideal world, they'd be split farming in all 3 lanes just to try and get back into this game. Looper is oh my.
Oh, and we do see another Mega Inferno Bomb onto Dandy and Pawn as they were going for a little bit of a red buff steal.
It's like Looper not teleporting after all. So yeah, as I was saying, it's really difficult because there's always that threat that the Morgana...
Here we go. Oh, misses the Dark Binding.
Well, that was interesting. That didn't look like it should have missed, but okay.
Well, that will save Bengi for sure and also gives a red buff to Piglet, but you saw how much T1K needed to put in just to stop a red buff steal more than anything. Samsung wasn't looking for a kill at that point.
Well, but this is fine for Samsung because they're putting so much pressure on that for every red buff, we've seen this. Samsung's been doing this. The last red buff that came up as well. It took SK Telecom 5 members to take 1 red, and that is just a horrendous use of their time right now. So they just keep on kind of falling back against Samsung because they have to invest so much in taking even the smallest objective, and Samsung is doing a great job of punishing them for it.
Yep, Samsung regrouping after a couple members by. Zonia's on Pawn. You see some extra magic resist after the Sunfire on Looper. And things have quieted down a little bit as we go into a reset on the Vision Wars, now around Baron, since Dragons were taken a few minutes ago.
The Baron threat much more dire right now.
Oh, yes.
Now that the Blade of the Ruined King has been completed, Kog'Maw has a few more levels. So this is a much better time.
Oh, Piglet gets caught by Pawn. Oh, nice Zonias to dodge the Mega Inferno Bomb. A Dark Binding onto Piglet, and Mata leashing the other people with his slow to keep them at bay. Impact teleports into 4 members of Samsung, pretty much into his death.
That was such a good catch onto Piglet. I mean, Pawn engaged again with the Ghost and the Gate, and then Mandu was right there to follow up with the Dark Binding. I mean, Piglet lives, but it does result eventually in Impact kind of wasting his
Bengi's gonna get cocooned as he tries to check with the standard. A nice Dark Binding onto Faker. Bengi has to flash out of his own Cataclysm. A Satchel Charge to keep himself alive, but no dice as Faker gets chained in, and Piglet has to run away with tons of speed boosts on top of him. As he does pick up a kill on the retreat, but Looper too tanky right now. Pawn's coming up. Piglet has to run away. Zillion can help with that one.
Just fantastic coordination from Ozone. Now, the setup on these picks is why SK Telecom is so scared. They do have a little bit of a timing window here to do something, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to turn this into any real objectives. The top tower, the nearest thing they can get, but look at how well Samsung Ozone is doing of zoning them off the top side of the map. You'd think that since they're a man up, they would be able to at least maybe get some vision over the pit. No, nothing, because the blackout is still there. Ozone is still dangerous, and they just can't walk anywhere near topside.
Nope. And Faker, I guess, was just hanging around his own Nexus.
Well, he just revived, so coming back with a Void Staff, that's going to be a really good item for him to have right now. That will change a lot, but Looper already with his 2nd cowl after the one that went into the Banshee's Veil, so against the double AP, prioritizing that itemization. So it may not be as useful. There's Looper right now on your screens. There is the Masters Cup.
Yeah, it's pretty close to Looper right now. I'd have to give it to Samsung. They're looking really strong, and that 3-0 a lot of people predicted is as close to truth as ever as Dandy gets a cocoon onto Bengi. T1K just so scared to jump when they only see Dandy right now, but in fact that's what scares them. Bengi having to check every brush with the standard, which means his EQ combo isn't always readily available. Dandy and Imp will start the Dragon. Other members of Samsung slowly filing in. Dandy uses Smite at the last minute to pick it up with Bengi with the early Smite. He is just left alone to die. Looper jumps in with Pawn with the zone. Yes, Piglet caught behind. He will go down with the Zillion's ultimate on him. Will Looper jump back on top? Yes, Imp right there with the Blade of the Ruin King. Meanwhile, Dandy in the duel of his life with Impact eventually goes down. Imp gets assassinated, but he will get the Cathian surprise onto Faker. Faker Satchel charges out at the last moment. The Dart Binding not gonna hit.
And Samsung Ozone actually losing that fight. Now on the revive from Piglet, Imp went a little bit too far forward. He was standing right next to Faker and Piglet, so not the best positioning for him on the Kog'Maw. He was blown up pretty darn quickly, and his lack of damage after he died really turned that fight around in favor of SK Telecom, but a good ult from MonDu keeps Piglet up, even though the Zillion ult is really doing a lot in this game.
Yeah.
Piglet would have died about 1 million more times by now. Because look at this setup. As a Twitch, you're not going to live. There's the gate. Look, TF can see you. Here he comes. Bam, gold card. Follow-up. Done. Here comes Dandy. Cocoon. Oh, he didn't actually hit the Cocoon right there, but, you know, just bursting him down. Now he gets a second chance in life, and Imp is right there, but he just gets annihilated by Faker. That Void Staff really doing work, and while Looper does take Piglet down for a second time, Faker is able to satchel charge his way over the Wraith Pit wall and then dodge a Dark Binding after that.
Yeah, good play by Faker to flash forward to take Imp out. Wasn't quick enough to save Piglet, but was quick enough to save the rest of his teammates and turn that fight around.
Piglet has a QSS.
He's sick of all this, so he wants to do his thing.
He may be able to carry with this, honestly, because with the QSS and the Zillion ult on his side,
yeah,
and he's going to be the main target too, because he's the least mobile member.
Very true.
Faker has an ability to slip out of these situations with a satchel charge, or at least peel for himself a little bit with the Hextech Minefield, but Piglet, different situation, and he's definitely tired of being bullied by the single target CC chain that Samsung has been rolling out on him.
Yep. And Frozen Heart, the second item finishes. MonDu gets caught by Cocoon onto Dandy. MonDu will go down, but he does put the ultimate on himself. Now it's down for the rest of the team. Mega Inferno Bomb will not pick up a kill just yet. Dandy zones out as Faker does take out Imp at the edge of that fight. The Black Shield onto Looper, the monster Shyvana, as they catch two members in that Cataclysm. Bengi is able to turn things around. Looper really just kind of flopping around in that Cataclysm. T1K pushing back in this third game.
And Faker hit an insanely good ult in that fight. He managed to take out Imp in the back line without having to be anywhere close to him himself. Faker with the double buffs also. So just showing up, and Ozone still with the lead, but this is where that scaling really starts to come into play. Impact also there with the Frozen Heart.
Yeah. The item I wanted to mention before this fight happened, Faker and Bengi very confident they're going to take the tower down. They dodge the Cocoon, and Bengi and Faker, who are they focusing down? A little bit split right now, but Faker uses heal. He's going to get the kill onto Mata at the very end. Needs to run away, gets Cocooned by Dandy at the end. Dandy will get the double kill.
I love this game.
This is intense. I mean, I think this is the game people asked for tonight when they saw T1K and Ozone matched up.
It's just exciting, and it's just like the last game. Both of these teams desperately wanting to team fight. And there's a teleport coming in from Looper. They're just going to go for a Baron right here while Faker's death timer is ticking.
Yeah, and you got to give that call to the Mega Inferno Bomb. Not going to be up for 30 seconds because of that death. Impact is here, so is MonDu. MonDu gets caught by a gold card and everyone turns around. MonDu has the ultimate on himself, but Impact cannot survive alone. Piglet gets a slow, but there's a Destiny Gate. Piglet gets gold carded. He gets the shutdown onto Dandy, but Pawn and Imp will do work. Imp gets the second kill with the Blade of the Ruin King. MonDu running away. Oh, he gets caught by Living Artillery. Needs to watch out from this one. Imp and Looper trying to find MonDu. That's going to leave Imp alone with Baron in the Baron pit. He's going to need to watch out. There's the Seraph's Embrace trying to do work. Imp, will he go down?
Oh!
No, he survives with 62 health. Faker tried to zip out for the Mega Inferno Bomb. But I think Imp, a little bit smart for that one. He walks way far behind and not going to find his target.
No ward in that brush either. Just doing what he could, and Imp going to live through that. It was a good desperation attempt. Piglet did do a lot of damage. His cleanse timing from his QSS was nearly flawless right there. He hit him the instant the gold card stunned him. But without Faker to help out in that team fight, it wasn't to be for SK TK. But importantly and crucially, they stopped the Baron. So they've got that going for them. Faker has a massive CS lead. And again, the scaling from this SK TK composition is just crazy. So if they can wait long enough, I'm really surprised. And in both of these games, SK Telecom K has shown that they have these late game team fights and the late game decision making really solid, because they've threatened to come back in both Ozone and Blues games against them. But their early game, their decision making regarding the lane swaps, they fall behind early.
Destiny used. Will we see him port a little bit closer while that's still up? They do get vision on Piglet, who was preparing for an ambush. Yeah, we do see Pawn coming into that mid lane. Just shoves up the bottom and then takes advantage of that mobility. T1K all grouped around the Baron pit. They're actually just going to go ahead and start Baron. Faker gets seen at the edge of the pit. It's going pretty low. Piglet doing work. They're clearing out the wards as fast as possible, trying to zone out members of Samsung. Grand Ascent is up for Looper. And we're going to see Samsung dive in, and Pawn just takes Mandu out before the ultimate can go down. Bengi has the Cataclysm and flash out Looper, zoning 3 people out with the help of Dandy. But Dandy goes out to Piglet. Piglet's still alive with over half health. He's going to do work out to Looper, but Imp shows up with Pawn from the backside. A quadra kill going down for Pawn to bring Samsung closer to victory. Look at the rest of the Samsung organization, so happy about their teammates' play.
And Pawn with the big play right there. And the most crucial part was that he took down Mandu before Mandu could actually get his ult off, because that ensured that there wasn't going to be any kind of return play from impact from Faker, from Piglet, so that they could just annihilate the rest of the competition as easily and as quickly as possible. It's not the end of the game yet, but now that 6K gold lead has blown into an 11K gold lead. Towers going down, inhibitor going down, SKTK very vulnerable to the Baron.
Yeah. Just great fight from Samsung to turn this game back around on its feet.
These games tonight have just been a kill, literally a kill a minute. So watch this. Pawn comes in, he's clearing out the pink ward, flash right in onto Mandu. They finally identified him as the priority target. Bengi tries to get onto Imp right here, but there's way too much peel for him. Bengi has to get out of his own ult. And then Imp able to make the follow-up play as well. As nice Twisted Fate just comes through the fight. They get a great flank after that, collapsing around onto the remaining members of SKTK. And high five to Omen, Acorn on the bench. A bit of a team fight victory hug. But the game isn't over yet. It's looking desperate, but there's still a Ziggs in this game, which means it's never actually over until it's over.
This is true. We've seen several members bring it back, notably EasyHoon with the Lich Bane at 50 minutes, just bursting people down instantly. Double elixirs on Pawn though. He's trying to look to do the same. He does have his Lich Bane already. Faker working towards it right now. Super Minions pushing down towards this mid lane, but again, also good news is that Baron hasn't been taken by Samsung. They focused the inhibitor down. T1K just has to last it out.
Well, they're still scared. Samsung, if they get caught in the Baron pit, first off, there's a spray and pray. Second off, that Magic Shred against a Rise and a Ziggs in the late game, you can be pretty tanky, but if your MR gets reduced more than what the Void Staff is already doing for Faker, if he full combos your team in the pit, the 11K gold lead doesn't matter at all. So I think Samsung Ozone is very wise to be cautious, super cautious about this. And their team comp is still their team comp. They still have to get that pick. They still have to get that hard CC down, the catch with the Dark Binding, the Cocoon, or the Gold card in order to actually win a team fight. So definitely not something they want to force. Now, SKTK, on the other hand, as the Destiny goes down, they're probably not going to do anything with this. They're just looking right now.
Yep, just getting vision, and they're going to start to rotate towards this Baron. Pawn just getting zoning onto Bengi. Bengi takes a lot of hits. Will dodge the Dark Binding.
That was a TF ult purely to get vision control over the Baron pit.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting play, but they still are only going to bait it. Now, if you're SKTK, you can actually start doing that Baron like we saw and hope that they face check into you. Yes, it didn't end up the best because Mandu was out of position and he couldn't get his ultimate off, but you want them to engage into you. You want them to have to move in without necessarily getting a pick, because if they run at you and they miss all their skill shots or you dodge them, well, then all of a sudden you're going to be able to counter-engage with Rise, and that's going to be pretty great for you. You're also going to be able to kite them with the Hextech Minefield. So the starting and turning, definitely the strategy that SKTK want to go for right now. The bait and pick at Baron, the strategy that Samsung Ozone wants to work with.
And so as we cross the 40-minute mark, 49 kills in this game. We're going to have to look at that one team fight that's going to end the game at this point for either team. Even T1 K, if they get a good team fight at the late game, there's just, they just have to push up mid lane, inhibitor tower down, or take it down, inhibitor, and then Nexus turrets. So we'll see what they can make out of this game. T1K is hanging on so well, though. Credit to these guys.
And Impact has been just freezing this lane in the bottom, trying desperately to catch up. I mean, he's 140 CS down on Looper right now. Not to mention he's 1-7 compared to 7-2 and 16. Looper has been there for 23 of his team's 29 kills. So definitely having a much bigger impact. But with Rise's 6 items, that is not going to matter.
Bengi taking some poke from Imp. Faker here to provide some extra poke. It's pretty tense around the middle of the map. Looper does have teleport up. Impact has teleport up too, but he's gonna think about walking towards the mid lane and decides, all right, I'll just go down bottom.
Not a whole lot done to Dandy right there. Banshee's Veil will block the little bit of poke from Faker.
Yeah, we do see Mata pressing forward for the Ward Wars. There's a time bomb going down. Morgana with the black shield will block it out. Looper camping out in the enemy jungle. Looking for a pick on his own, not gonna find it. Will he just walk up for a flank here in the mid lane? Inhibitor is back up for T1K. So Samsung, are they gonna look for a pick at the Baron pit? Force the inhibitor. And we do see Destiny coming in. Oh, Gate right in the middle of the team. Looper jumps in. A nice Zonius from Faker, but that just leaves him behind. There's a Zillion Ultimato though, and a 4-man Soul Shackles coming in from Mata, and he lives. He gets the set at the last moment. Bengi takes him out though, and Piglet gets caught by 3 members as Dandy and Looper continue to chase down. Pawn gets a wild card on 2. Bengi gets a double kill, and Dandy chasing Mandu to the end of the world, but getting slow to eternity. Thanks to Zillion, Impact is going to be back, and can he get a kill? No. Ozone, will they finish this final here with 4 members? They're running pretty low, and Impact could get cleanup here. But look at the damage on that gold card, maybe not.
Well, he does have home guard, so we'll see if he can actually... He's going to have to all in.
Cocoon onto Mandu, and there's a repel. Impact all in, and he will go down, but there's a revive coming in from Mandu, and he comes back up. Mandu and Impact against the world. Impact gets the kill onto 1 more member, but Looper's still alive. Mandu just needs to slow him down. Looper using Dragon's Descent to cross across the Nexus. And look at this fight.
Yes, Zillion versus Shyvana, go!
Zillion versus Shyvana against the Nexus. And Looper is caught behind, slowed too much, as Mandu will eventually get chased down. Mandu's cooldowns doing so much for him, and Looper goes down. T1K saves their Nexus. Mandu used his ultimate 3 times throughout that fight. And I cannot believe that we are still in this game, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, CDR on Zillion makes it so you can just keep refreshing it by lowering your other cooldowns with your abilities, so pretty hilarious. And is SK Telecom about to get this Baron?
I think they might.
Impact has TP up.
And Pawn also has that Destiny Gate though on the side of Samsung. Looper definitely not going to spawn in time. Mata gets the Dark Binding onto Bengi, but Piglet I think is going to help take the Baron. So T1K gets the Baron buff. Didn't want to speak too soon. They'll get out, but they will not lose another tier 2 just yet. The middle inhibitor is taken down once again.
Well, SKTK could make a comeback here. Impact didn't get the Baron buff. Impact still doesn't have a Void Staff, which is actually pretty problematic right now. He also doesn't have any magic resist, which is why he's getting chunked so hard by Pawn.
Yeah.
Or not very much, at least. He's got Merc Treads. That's not doing a whole lot for him at the moment.
We do have the Lich Bane here on Faker.
And Ziggs is definitely one of the scariest champions with that Lich Bane. Combined with his passive, because he has so much AP scaling, he just does a ridiculous amount of damage on autos with a Lich Bane pickup.
All right, so Samsung just trying to decide what they want to do with this Baron buff on T1K. They're going to take their time. And they're not even going to try to push it up. They don't want to take a risk here. You know, you're past 45 minutes, anything could happen. T1K doesn't have too much to push themselves.
They're scared. And that's what this Elise Morgana combo does. That's why it's so good, is because it magnifies positional errors about 1 million times.
Absolutely.
And it's up and so frequently in terms of CC that it doesn't take, it's what, 6 seconds, 5 seconds for each of those abilities when you actually have some CDR and you maxed out the Dark Binding and the Cocoon. So if you get caught by that, the burst will just instantly slay you. So SK Telecom's caution is probably good. They also have no inhibitors right now. And the other thing they're worried about is a TF backdoor. He's got Lich Bane. So if they leave their base with no Nexus turrets, TF will just kill their Nexus.
Yeah.
So they actually just can't leave right now.
And so their best bet probably waiting for Samsung to make the first move. And that's giving Samsung time to just chip away at both tier 2s on the side lanes. But as we mentioned, always in League of Legends, post 40 minutes, anybody's game.
And Void Staff done on Ryze. That's a pretty big power spike for Ryze. Now all he needs is a fail, and he'll be in a much better situation. But he was so delayed this game that even this 46-minute Ryze is pretty weak compared to what we would normally think of. I mean, not having 6 items on a Ryze and approaching 50 minutes into the game is unusual, to say the least. Looper has opted to go for a Warmogs, actually. So I believe he sold his Sunfire cape in order to pick up that item. He just wants as much HP as possible. He doesn't really need that Sunfire to push the waves. So we'll see how this works out for him. He's got the Alacrity enchantment on his boots as well, just to speed him up and make it so that he can stick more effectively to some of these carries in the team fights.
Faker's trying to see what he can do with this wolf. How many times does it take to take the big wolf out? Faker just playing ball with his pet wolf. I mean, you know, you can't blame him.
Faker's like, well, I don't have anything better to do right now.
Yeah, you can't blame him. I mean, he was just waiting for the minions to come in. He wasn't going to walk out there. I think it's great, though. So Samsung taking this chance.
Like fetch with Fido the wolf.
Yeah. Samsung, there's lots of Banshee's Veils everywhere. That wolf is still there, just waiting for another ball to be thrown. And SKT T1 K playing really scared, and their inhibitor is back up, so even if Pawn gated in, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would be pretty scary especially if they were engaged in a fight. Pawn could take that time to take the inhibitor and then the Nexus right out from under T1K's nose. They're trying to burn out the Banshee's Veils as much as possible before they reach the inhibitor. And the minion wave while they're at it. Faker also with his own elixirs. He does have that Lich Bane up.
So Baron buff is now down, so Samsung Ozone has officially waited that one out. They still possess a 16K gold lead here. As you said, Chover means less and less. The only person who's really affected by this right now is Impact.
Right. And that could be overcome by timing and positioning from the T1K team fight. Bengi just going to block that spider out so people don't need to be zoned out of necessity. And Samsung, both teams playing so careful, so much on the line right now. Piglet looking for an ambush. Can he find a target? Not yet. MoohManDu gets caught by a Dark Binding, and that's a signal for Samsung Ozone. There's the Destiny. Looper jumps in with Dragon's Descent. The Voidoo's not going to affect anyone. Pawn goes down onto Impact, but Impact's still alive, and Bengi with a double knockup, and he's going to jump right onto Imp as we see Piglet with the Zillion ultimate. He's doing work in the backline as much as he can, but Faker and Piglet have been zoned out. Pawn goes onto Faker, but double Zonius for both members. There's the heal, and Faker's not going to get the kill onto Pawn. A double kill for Imp, surviving for so long. A triple kill as he takes out Piglet in the fountain. And we're going to see the inhibitor go down. Bengi is here with MoohManDu, but what can they do? Not too much. Pawn is just going to wait this one out. Repel up, Imp at full health. Samsung Ozone will take the win to give Samsung a Oh, victory in the Masters final.
And what better way to end than with a 50-minute, 65-kill game. Just a ridiculous bloodbath. Exciting to see all the mechanics from these players tonight. Congratulations to Samsung. And at least we had a very entertaining series.
Oh, you know, you can say it's a 3-0, but this was no ordinary 3-0. And props to Samsung, proving to the world, anyone out there watching, that they are indeed the best organization in League of Legends right now.
Unquestionably at this stage. And you can see the players, of course, coming in to congratulate their teammates. Blue entering the booth to have a little bit of a party with Ozone and their coaching staff.
And a party they deserve, you know, and they're going to have a short little break before Champion Summer starts up too, so they can rest on this victory a little bit longer. Blue now with 2 titles in 2014, and Ozone helping out huge in this last set against T1K to bring home victory for the Samsung organization. That means with the circuit points they already have, they still have just a great chance at going to Worlds with both teams really at this point.
And considering how many circuit points both teams already have, they were making a run for those top 2 spots, which would have been guaranteed already, especially Samsung Blue. But now they've got that extra bit of insurance, that little bit of a buffer.
What an organization, really. And the players are exhausted, but happy as ever. We saw them, we heard them screaming Acorn at home. Really very excited. Acorn, one of the older players here in the Samsung organization. Look at that, all of them lined up to pick up the Masters Cup.
Who gets to, that's such a badass trophy. Who gets to touch it first?
You know that the Masters logo M on the trophy kind of looks like a crown?
Does indeed. The trophy kind of looks like that Samsung logo.
Yeah, we can say it now. Now that Samsung's won. It was meant to look like, I guess, vampire wings or something, but
since when do vampires have wings, Chobra?
You know, some vampires do. It's all in a fairy tale anyway, you know? You can draw your own wings on. Maleficent got her wings back after they were burned off. I mean, anything could happen in the fairy tale. But congratulations to Samsung. And, I mean, you can't really say anything else. They single-handedly are proving time and time and again that they are the best. They don't win off of, you know, cheap games or other people's. And Cheese is also respectable, but at this point, they've won all the ways they could. They've had cheesy strats, they've had the mechanics and team fights. Who's going to get the first kiss? And Pon's just going to raise it over his head. And some of these players are just all so